Hi there, everybody. I'm Kraig Kann. Right now, on this edition of Tracks to Success, she's the Chief Client Officer and a top partner at Aspiriant, one of the most respected independent wealth management firms in the country. She co-hosts the Money Tales podcast, and she's helping redefine leadership in a traditionally male-dominated space, all while guiding others to invest in what really matters. She leads with clarity, plans with purpose, and helps high-performing people navigate wealth, legacy, and life transitions with strategy and intention. But make no mistake, this episode isn't about money. It's about mindset and what happens when you take your career from tax consulting to the top of a national advisory firm while never losing sight of the human side of success. Her name is Sandi Bragar, and her inspiring story of success starts now.
Welcome to Tracks to Success. This is the podcast that brings you inspiring people and their inspiring stories, how they found their way to the top, and how their path can help you do the same. Here's your host, network broadcaster, C-suite executive, best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur, Kraig Kann.
Sandi, it's absolutely a pleasure. Great to see you. Thanks so much for being on this, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Kraig. This is such an honor.
Well, it's an honor for me as well. It's fun to look at your career. It's fun to kind of dive into your background, and we're going to do that today and help everybody as well. A stellar career at Aspiriant, which a lot of people maybe don't know what that company is, but we'll get into that. You've earned the respect of an entire industry. That's what I think. That's what I believe. And before we get to the title, the firm, your background, all that, accolades, et cetera, I want to know what you haven't accomplished or what's not on the resume, right? Or the bio that you're most proud of.
Being a mom while having a full-time career and helping build a business and raise two amazing human beings with my husband is probably my best accomplishment that never seems to make it onto the resume.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a quick second then. I really like that answer. Why is that such a challenge?
Well, there's only so much time and energy during the day, and having a full-time career creates a lot of needs on that time and energy.
Sure.
As do growing kids. And it's been particularly interesting. My son was born in 2005, my daughter in 2008. So that was right when our firm in 2008 became Aspiriant. We had two prior existing firms that merged together, all happening in 2008. And what else was happening in the world? The global financial crisis was happening.
Right.
So there's just been a lot going on, all the way through to the pandemic happening as they were in their tween and teenage years. And so figuring out how best to manage time, energy, attention, and modeling has been a challenge, and it's been really fulfilling, Kraig.
Sandi, if you go back to early chapters of your career or your life growing up, did you ever see like leadership per se as something that would be attached to you, a leader, a strategist, I'm going to say a voice in the financial sector?
Oh, thanks for asking. I grew up with parents who modeled what it was like to be business owners. My dad owned his own business. My mother worked very closely with him, supporting his business and also doing different work. And so I have seen some of their leadership. And I think also, Kraig, there's just something innately in me that makes me want to be part of things and help move the ball forward, whether it's an organization, whether it's careers, whether it's the lives of our clients. I've always been someone who's wanted to be a helper. And so I think that the path to leadership has always been sort of on the horizon and present. And I do think I had ambitions earlier in my career to be a leader, but I don't know that I had figured out in advance what that path would look like and exactly what that would mean.
So would you say the clarity comes with experience? Along the way, you start to figure it out more and more?
It did for me. It did for me. And especially because the space in which I work is wealth management, and the whole profession has gone through a huge transformation over the
Hmm.
last 25 years. And so not only was I growing in my career, I was growing in my career helping create a business in an environment that was constantly changing. And there's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions and other things that have happened that when I first started at the firm, I never would have anticipated.
Mm, yeah. You went from Ernst& and Young, big brand name, to Aspiriant, became partner pretty quickly. Partner. When somebody says and they tap you on your shoulder and they say, partner, guess what? Congratulations. Was that like a pinch me moment? What was that like for you?
It was thrilling. It was so exciting when I made the pivot from Ernst& and Young into financial planning or wealth management. It was in pursuit of something I'd always wanted to do since I learned about the profession when I was in college. So I was
Hmm.
really excited. My plan was to get a few years of experience, get my certified financial planner designation, and start my own business. And
Mm.
so when I was asked early on to join the partnership of the firm, that was huge. And I was very excited. And of course, what's going on in the world at that time? Well, we had the whole like .com meltdown. So
Mm.
um, it was like so exciting, but also it sort of felt like taking a jump off of a cliff because um, a lot of the revenue of the firm is tied to what's happening in our client portfolios. And when the whole stock market rolls over, that hurts revenue. And so buying into an investment when there's a lot of price instability was really a leap of faith, and I felt very confident, and it was really exciting, but a lot to think about at the time.
Yeah, so you said you felt confident. A lot of people get tapped with this big role, a big opportunity in their career, and they don't know if they're ready. They sit back and they're like, they kind of look around and they're like, am I truly prepared for this? Did you have a little of that too, or did you feel uber confident?
I did not feel uber confident at all. I was really propped up by the confidence that the other partners in the firm had in me
Hmm.
in giving me this opportunity. But no, early on in my career, I was always sort of nervous about what I was bringing to the table. I was in my, late 20s at the time, working with very wealthy individuals and families, titans of industry, entrepreneurs, people who've really created success in their life. And I just felt like I was this young person advising them, and like who am I to be telling them what to do? Like I
Right.
knew what I was doing. I was confident in my skills, but it was I think it was that professional acumen that I was still developing when I was asked to be partner. So that was a huge pour of confidence into me and helped me. But it took even a while beyond that for me to really feel like I was hitting my stride.
I'm going to say, Sandy, talking about hitting stride, one of the things that stood out to me when I first met you was a people first philosophy that came across to me. It seems
Oh,
like it's kind of in your DNA. Is that fair?
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm all about helping other people and making the world better in whatever way that I can, whether it's their individual lives, helping them, in the case of clients, develop philanthropic strategies that will have an impact on our society and the world. I'm all in. Whatever I can do to help someone out, I'm there.
Well, okay. CPA, CFP, Chief Client Officer, there's the people thing. Those titles carry a whole lot of weight. I mean, they're big titles, things that people aspire to. But that approach isn't just numbers. It's probably purpose driven. Is that fair?
It is. I would say when it comes to money, Craig, there's two sides of it. There's the technical side. How
Hmm.
do you put a balance sheet together? How does the tax law work? What's an estate plan? And there's the emotional side. The emotional side is so important. It's how people make their decisions. How am I feeling about the money that I've created or that I've inherited? How am I
Hmm.
feeling about my purpose and my values? Do I know what they are? Have I identified them? And what we do in the work that we bring to clients is really marry the two together, the technical and the emotional side. And going back on my career, I would say early on, I was so focused on the technical that I almost thought the emotional side didn't matter at all. Like I hardly saw it, even though it was just looking at me in my face every day when I was in front of clients. And so I think as I look back on the journey of my career, it's been one of an awakening toward understanding that emotional side of money. And now where I sit today and how we think about it at the firm is that's the most important thing. I could tell you all day long why having a mortgage might be beneficial to you. But if you grew up in an environment where you were told that being indebted to others is a bad thing, or maybe you have religious reasons for thinking that, my telling you that a mortgage is great just isn't going to land on you. It's not, I'd just be wasting my time. So really creating an environment where we can understand who is the client, what makes them tick. In the case of couples and families, what are the dynamics between them? What are their priorities? All of that is so important before we do the first step toward any sort of technical analysis or recommendation for how they might be able to improve their financial results or achieve their financial goals.
Tracks to Success is proud to have the support of Ahead, true innovators in premium headwear. For more than 25 years, Ahead has been outfitting golfers and supplying headwear for the game's most prestigious events. Head over to aheadshop.com and explore their incredible collection of major championship golf hats. And don't miss their lineup featuring your favorite college teams. If you're looking to dress for success, Ahead is the perfect brand for you. So think ahead and look for it at pro shops and special events across the country. And how about this? For listeners of Tracks to Success, Ahead is offering one of its biggest discounts ever. Visit aheadshop.com and use the code TTS30. That's TTS30 to get not 20% off your purchase, but 30% off. That's right, 30% off with code TTS30. Ahead, the finest in headwear and the official headwear of the Tracks to Success podcast. Available now at aheadusashop.com. Talking with Sandi Bragar, partner, chief client officer at Aspiriant. You said that you help people understand their money. A lot of people don't necessarily understand money very well. I might put myself in that category. I think we all wonder if we have enough or what do we do. But this podcast, I don't want it to be about money. I want it to be about people. I want it to be about career. I want it to be about how do we get to where we want to go. That's a powerful thing to have with a client, to help them get there. Can you talk about the value that you get in that and kind of how it's defined you?
I think helping clients achieve all of that makes me feel really good. It sharpens my skills on the emotional side, on the technical side, as we've talked about. It gives me the opportunity to mentor the rising talent in our firm as I'm working along with them or supporting them in the work that they're doing with clients and helping them grow. So it's just like this beautiful infinity loop of an ecosystem, Kraig. That's how it feels anyway, of helping other people helps me get better, helps me help other people get better, helps me learn more. The thing that I love about the work that I do is that there's always something new happening. There's always something new to learn. There's always a new area to develop in. So it's not boring. I look back over the nearly 27 years I've spent at the firm. It has changed. It's evolved. I mentioned some of that to you. I've evolved, and there's still so much more for me to learn. I don't feel like I've gotten to the top of that peak.
I think people, by and large, measure success based on wealth. They might tell you they don't, but if they sit in a quiet moment, I think they do. This is what I have. This is what I don't have. This is what I wish I had. And it's all tied to how much they earn to be able to afford such things. How do you define success yourself?
For me, success does involve some amount of financial considerations. I feel successful because I'm at a point in life where I have created a comfortable living for myself and my family. So I'm not having to worry about how I'm going to pay bills or those sorts of things. We live in a lovely neighborhood in a nice location. But success for me goes way beyond that. It's really the impact that I've had on the lives of clients. I was with a client last week. I've been working with her and her family for the last 25 years before their daughter was born. And so it was really gratifying to see what's happening in the family's life right now, to see how they're growing and evolving. And in the conversation, they were thanking me for some encouragement that I was giving them in the area of spending. They weren't spending. They were fearful of spending money. They were afraid if they spent too much now, they wouldn't have enough later on. And so we did a lot of planning and modeling, and I provided a lot of encouragement. And so it was very gratifying. I felt successful when they said to me, "Oh my gosh, we're so glad that you encouraged us to do this, because we've been traveling. We've had all these experiences. We've, the list goes on." So that's successful to me. That makes me feel really good. And then again, where I'm at in my career right now, I'm defining success on the mark that I'm having within my organization, and really in the mentorship and development of other people within the firm. That's something that I want to continue to try to help others develop faster in ways that feel good to them, in ways that they feel supported, and help open their eyes to things that they might not be seeing right away, to help them grow. That makes me feel good and feel successful too.
So opening eyes, clarity, seen clearly. What's the common thread in people? Let's help our listeners, our viewers. What would you tell people who struggle to be clear or see clarity in what success is for them? What would you tell them?
I think it would start with really taking some time to figure out what is most important to you. What are the moments where you feel most comfortable, most excited, most secure? What does that look like? When are you seeing those moments happening? As you project out into the future, what would need to happen, if anything, to get more of that in your life? How are you spending your time relative to those things that are important? Sketching all of that out, I think, helps create that clarity you're asking about, Kraig.
Mm-hmm.
And again, financial aspects are part of it. You can't ignore the money. But what I've seen oftentimes is people get so enamored by the money that they just keep pushing their finish line out. It's like, oh, if I only had $1 million, everything would be great. Okay, I've worked really hard. I have $1 million now, but no. Now I need 10 million. Now I need 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
All these other people in my life have more. So I think also trying to get folks who are tethered to marking their success relative to other people, and exploring that to understand if that's really valid, if that's really important to them. Because sometimes they think it's important, but once they really drill on it, they realize that it's really not a motivating force, and it's just exhausting them.
Sandi, people have strategic plans in business, right? Here's where we want to go. Here's how we're going to get there, et cetera. You help people, clients, founders, executives, families with strategic plans for life and their money. How important is a strategic plan for a career in your mind? You're an executive female, you're an executive leader, you're a big part, a partner, et cetera. How do they get a strategic plan for career?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Sometimes early in your career, it's hard to be thinking, 20, 25 years in advance. So looking over the next 3 to 5 years is probably a good starting point. And again, thinking about all those other goals and important things in your whole life, not just your career, and then slotting your career into that to figure out what needs to happen within your career. What do you want to have happen in your career to get you there? And I think leaning into others in your organization and outside of your organization can be helpful if you're working in a company, if you're an entrepreneur. Getting that mentoring from other people can be helpful too. But I think it's really important to have those goals, because when you have goals, that allows you to work backwards and figure out what are the skills and competencies that you need to develop in order to get to where you want to go. And sometimes things don't work out on your time frame, or curveballs come your way.
Yeah.
And learning how to roll with the punches and not get derailed by those things is really important too.
Yeah. Important.
Yeah.
I work with leaders, as you know, on presence and communication, message, clarity, all that stuff. Can Advisory Group. You, as a chief client officer, you've got your clients as well. You're part strategist. I'd say it's very fair to say you are big time part coach. How important is connection? I want to talk about that for a second, because I think we can't communicate until we connect. Talk about connection and how big that is in your role.
Connection is huge, and it's the glue, right? You need to have the connection with other people you work with clients. Connection leads to trust, and trust is everything. And so I spend a lot of my time figuring out, how can we create that connection sooner? How can we create trust sooner? Because that just paves the way for everything. And what I've found, Kraig, is that questions are sometimes the best way toward forging that connection. Asking open-ended questions, showing your curiosity, really being engaged in the conversation and listening. Those, I think, are some of the most important skill sets that anyone can have. And I was commenting to a friend recently how disappointed I am in the public school system in our country, because there's not enough focus on building connection, on communication. I feel like our world would be different if we all had more formal training on that earlier on.
Okay, let's go down that path. What's the problem? Why? What could they do better for kids?
Well, I think for kids, and I'm going to start with middle school.
Okay.
So beginning in middle school, what happens to communication? It shuts down. Now there's social media that absorbs it all. People are talking in ways to try to get caught in the algorithmic wave, but we're not having the human conversations that allow us to understand, how do we ask for what we need? How can we be vulnerable in front of someone else in a safe and protected way without having to worry about being bullied? How do we listen well? To me, listening is about taking in what the other person is saying, not only with their words, but with their body language, looking into their eyes, understanding that that's all part of listening, being able to mirror back what they're saying to you, not in the exact same way. Those are just our skills that we're not teaching. And I think they're hard skills for the average person to just pick up on. I know for me, it's taken me a long time to develop them. And I feel like I'm continually working on that. But to me, it's that communication and curiosity that helps build connection. If we're talking to each other and more focused on what we're going to say next, instead of what the person we're speaking to is actually saying to us, we're not going to communicate well.
Communication, curiosity. You know what that actually takes me to? It takes me to a podcast that I know. It's called Money Tales. And speaking
You know
of
it well.
asking
You're such a great guest on the show, Kraig. That was
asking
so fun.
tough questions, you co-host the Money Tales podcast, which I do love, and you know that. Storytelling and asking questions is interesting. Obviously, you could go on there and you could talk about strategy, and I know you try to help your clients and you try to help your audience and build all that, but stories are a part of financial wellness and planning, right? I mean, you're listening to people share what matters to them. Can you take us into that a little bit?
That's right. Stories have so much wrapped into them, so much of our identity, of our values. And so in the work that we do, which we demonstrate on the Money Tales podcast, we spend a lot of time creating safe environments for our clients, or in the case of the podcast, our guests, to open up and share. And so oftentimes we will ask them stories about what it was like growing up, or what money was like growing up. When did they first learn about money? When was money first important to them? We ask clients to tell us stories about their family that really capture the ethos of who they think the family are, because those stories, when they share them with us, have the values of the family embedded in there, and we can mirror those back to them. So I think stories are really important. Oftentimes, again, with the technical side of money, if I just tell you how something works mechanically, maybe that will land on you. But if I can tell you a story about how a strategy has worked for someone else, how it could work for you, and I can really help you see the vision, that's going to allow you to be better attached to the story. You're going to be able to make a decision that is better for you and more informed.
Yeah. Create relevance for your audience. No question about it. Do you love doing the podcast? Do more leaders like yourself, I mean, a chief client officer, a partner in a big firm, do they need to do stuff like this? Have you found it to be very helpful to your brand?
It's been extremely helpful. It's been meaningful. It has really demonstrated what we do in a really special way. So Cami Doder and I, Cami's our chief marketing officer, we started the podcast about 5 years ago. And when we were thinking about using the podcast platform for our company, we really wondered, should it be about investment? Should it be about technical planning skills? And where we landed was, no, we really want to ask our guests to share with us their money stories so that we can use our professional insights to ask questions and guide our conversations with guests so that they can open up. And what we all understand, me and Cami, as well as listeners to the show, that we began to hear our own stories and the stories of other people. Something that we might have thought was unique to us turns out to be completely normal. Like, oh, I'm not the only one who worries about how much money I'm spending on spa care. Like, someone else is doing that too. I'm not the only one who grew up in a family where my parents were arguing about money. No, that happens all the time. I'm not the only one who, when I'm trying to decide, gosh, should I be leaving this job and starting a business? Like, I'm not the only one freaking out about that. And so when we hear stories of other people who have done the things that we're thinking about doing, or have had to make some of the same decisions as we've had to make, but went in a different direction, we can learn from each other. And what I personally really appreciate about the show is that we've had a chance to talk with guests from many different backgrounds, different countries, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and there's always something new to learn. And it allows us and listeners to empathize with other people more, to be more connected. So we're hearing stories. We might not actually, a listener might not actually meet the guest, but hearing Kraig Kann's money stories and his money tales will
riveting.
Help.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like you're talking about what it was like to be on, like a private plane on the golf circuit. Like, I mean, there's so much to learn and wonder. Well, gosh, did that change Kraig? How did that inform who he is today? So it's been great. And then for the firm, it really has helped us a lot. It's helped allow us to build our network, reaching out to people that we might not have otherwise been in conversation with, to tap into their networks and to really promote our message that everyone can benefit from having intimate money conversations, and having an intimate, productive money conversation may not be as hard as you anticipate.
In addition to hosting this podcast, Kraig leads the Kann Advisory Group, focused on elevating communication for companies and individuals. Company consulting team and individual workshops, mind-altering virtual programs. To learn more and to find out why the Elevate workshop has been labeled the most powerful experience in leadership communication, visit canadvisory.com. And when you do connect, mention the Tracks to Success podcast to receive your special discount. Now, back to the interview.
Talking with Sandi Bragar. She is the Chief Client Officer at Aspiriant. I want to go back to the podcast thing for a quick second. What have you learned about yourself? Let's go deep into you for a second. I'm going to go down this path. What have you learned about yourself and having a microphone in front of you?
Well, I'll say, if I go back to those early days, I remember being so nervous. Can I do this? Will I know what questions to ask? Because our podcast is completely unscripted, except we have the same beginning questions and we have the same ending question. Everything in between is unscripted. And so there was a confidence question at the beginning. Can I actually do this? Will I be articulate enough? Will I be able to ask all the interesting questions? And I can say that having done this now for over 5 years, the confidence is there, starting something new. I've just created new muscles for myself. It's really helped me become a better speaker when I'm in front of audiences. I've been doing a lot of PR for our firm, and it's helped a lot there. So those are some of the things that I've gained. And I'll say that we have had a chance to talk to some true celebrities, and that's been a learning too, because sometimes I get a little nervous of, oh my gosh, Daniel Pink.
Wow.
What money conversations should I be having with Daniel Pink? And it's nice to know that people are people, and everyone has a money story, and it's just a matter of whether they'll share it with us. And we're so appreciative when they do.
Okay, you mentioned Daniel Pink. You've led in a male-dominated industry. Okay, you are a partner in a male-dominated industry. Has that journey been easy?
I feel very fortunate to have grown up in the company that I grew up in, because diversity of thought, diversity of gender, of race, the firm has really been about diversity all along. Has it been a perfect ride? No, there's always different interpersonal skills and things that have come up that we've had to navigate, either in individual situations or in the firm situation. But I'm so thankful to work as part of a very trusting partnership that's open and is not afraid to have hard conversations with each other. And it's been particularly fun over the last few years because our executive team, for the first time ever, has been majority female to male. So that's been different. If I go outside of Aspiriant, I think about financial services as a whole. It has been tricky. It is a very male-dominated world. I remember I was listed as the top wealth manager on a list of 100 people nationwide by a magazine. And they invited me to their VIP event, which I couldn't make. And I was so bummed I couldn't make it. But I got on the list the next year, and I made sure that I could go to their event. Our CEO came to support me because he was really excited too. I got to the VIP event, Kraig, and there were maybe 3 other women. It was all men. There was a cigar bar. I just felt fish out of water. I went up to one of the other women to introduce myself. It turns out she was the wife of someone who was on the list. So that was a really interesting experience for me. I'm really sad to say that the event organizer was there, and I did share with him my experience, in which to which he blew a puff of cigar smoke into my face. And I decided maybe I'm done with this VIP thing.
How did that make you feel? How do you stay grounded? You're a high-profile voice all of a sudden. You got recognition. And what's your message to other females who might be in that situation that you just presented?
Yeah. So let me backtrack a little bit. When I was coming up in my career, working at E&Y, Worth Magazine had the list of the top advisors, and I aspired to be on that list someday. This was before I even entered the financial planning profession. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I sought out people who were on the list and wanted to work with them. That's how I ended up with the firm that's now Aspiriant. So it was a goal of mine, and so it meant everything to get that recognition, because it was just great validation of the work that I, along with my team of partners and other talent in our firm, had been doing for clients. So it felt really, really good. There are a lot more women in financial services today. I feel like the landscape has changed a lot, but there's still separate women's events. There's separate women's lists, and that I would love to see go away. I don't know why women should have their own special list. It's not like there's a top men's list. So I'm eager for that othering to move away. And so in terms of what this means to the folks that I'm mentoring within Aspiriant, and then sometimes outside of Aspiriant, it's really trying to encourage people to look beyond the gender lines. Being a great financial advisor really doesn't matter if you're a male or female. It matters if you're able to really listen to the client and really hear what they're saying. Oftentimes clients will ask questions, but they're not really the questions that they mean. So for example, one of the most popular questions we've gotten this year is, should I be moving some of my money or myself outside of the United States? And so I could answer that question just based on how it was asked. But really what I want to know is, well, what's prompting that question? Like, what has you thinking about this? Is it someone that you're talking to? Is it a fear that you have based on an experience you've had? Like, I really need to get to the bottom of that before I can help advise a client. And so those are the skills that are really important. And I don't think a man or a woman or anyone who is non-gendered has any leg up over anyone else.
Okay. I'm going to take this a step further. Forbes Financial Council, several boards you've been on, guest on several shows and podcasts. Is that a part of your success story, or is it a result of your success story?
I think it's both. I think it's both. So I think the more as someone gains success in their career, if they want recognition or they get recognition, it makes it easier to build on that, to go to the next thing. So you were asking me earlier about career strategy. I think strategy comes into play there for folks who are looking for recognition, who are looking for opportunities. Having a podcast makes it easier to be on someone else's podcast. There's just a lot of reciprocal opportunities there. Doing certain things opens the door to other things, but in my experience, the doors don't typically open on their own. They take some effort. And what I've tried to do is really think about, well, where do I want to be? How do I want to spend my time? Where can I be most effective for our firm and on behalf of our clients?
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Did I put you in a real uncomfortable spot there?
Well, no, I just love this conversation. You're making me feel so good about myself, and you're asking me things that I don't really think about on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for that.
Looking for a guest speaker for your next event or annual conference? Kraig's message is inspiring and empowering. Visit kraigcanspeak.com to learn more about his topics and find out about his green shoe experience. It's a day your people will talk about long after he's gone. So visit kraigcanspeak.com and mention the Tracks to Success podcast to receive your special discount. Now, back to the show.
We're winding things down with Sandi Bragar, and I want to kind of keep going with something here about people's careers and about what they think about themselves, where they can go, etc. everybody's got a resume, right? We've got a piece of paper. I could go to your LinkedIn profile. I can see all these things. And I just rattled off boards and, financial councils and awards that you've been a part of. Okay, that's all great, right? We can put those things down. I want you to spin this forward for people out there, because one of the things I believe is we all can write things down about ourselves if we've spent the time to think about our journey. But the question becomes, for success, in my opinion, can you bring what's on paper to life? Can you actually pay it forward? Can you make people feel something about your success? Can you do something with it? And not everybody can do that. We can write down great notes, but we can't present them.
That's
Would
right.
you agree with that? And how important is it to be able to take your resume and your accomplishments and put it out there in a meaningful way?
I think it's helpful because it allows people who are interested in learning more about you to see if there's places where they connect with you. So, right? I mean, even if you went to college, where you went to college, or where you've worked, we're all looking for ways to connect with other people before we can have all those deep and meaningful open conversations with open-ended questions.
Yes.
So I think that's important. And it can help people who are looking at you because they have a problem to solve. It can kind of give them some insight sometimes of, are you someone who can help them solve the problem that they're trying to solve? So I do think it's helpful. As I look through the things I've done, what I found most beneficial is that I've been able to do things that align with my purpose, that hold my interest, and I've always been able to create more community as a result of it. And having that community has opened up different opportunities for me. Whether it's
how so? How so?
Like sometimes it's business development opportunities. Sometimes it's the next board ask, or people will ask me to participate in a program they're putting together or just brainstorm with them. But it's been really great to meet people who I wouldn't otherwise meet if I was just working at Aspiriant day in and day out. Right? So I've been really appreciative of those opportunities. And as I look back over my shoulder at my history, especially in this conversation, there's just so many little breadcrumbs of one thing leading to another. And I think that's the magic of being able to look back at where you've been and how you got there. I think when you're looking at where do you go from here, it's not always that easy to figure out what those stepping stones are. But you, as we were talking about, if you have goals, you can start to plot a little, an outline of a path, and then the detailed steps will become more clear as you move down the path. One of the things that I want to mention about careers is something that I see when our clients who have worked in decades-long careers sometimes face when they retire. And that is sometimes they find that their identity and their purpose is so wrapped up in their career that when the career is no longer in the picture, they struggle figuring out how they're going to be spending their time. And so that is something that we're aware of, and we do a lot of planning with clients to help them avoid that where we can. But that's been something that has come front of mind to me as I make decisions about how I spend my time. Is the activity, is the organization, the community, that whatever it is it going to align with my purpose? What are the benefits I'm going to get out of it personally, and what can I contribute to it? And if there's alignment, then that feels really good.
Good stuff. Really good. A couple of questions before I let you go. If you're a speaker, and I know you've given some talks, if you're a podcast host, and I know you're a podcast host, if you're a strategic voice at a major firm, and I think you're that too, take that forward. You're standing in front of a room of rising professionals with aspiration. What's the message you want to give them?
Well, do I have my green Converse on?
Yes, you have a green shoe.
Yes, I do. I think the main message is that everyone has the ability in their careers to make the change that they want to make in the world. And there's so much room for success, and you don't need to compete with other people to achieve that success. Mm-hmm. Instead, look at how you can build partnerships with people and create those synergies to help move you forward and bring the other person forward too.
Yeah. Very good. Did you want to tell people about the green shoe? Because, there is one here in my office, but
there
you
is.
also have one as well. Go ahead.
If I didn't have mine in my office where I'm not at this moment, it would be on my screen too. And so, yes, Kraig, you are a master at everything that you do. And Cammie and I sure did enjoy spending a couple of days with you in a workshop where you really helped us with our communication skills and thinking about how we strategically get our message across. And that's why it feels so great to be sitting in this chair talking with you right now. I really feel like I've arrived.
Well, you guys are great, and you were terrific, very inspirational to me, and I love the message. I love the story. So here's my last thing. We could ask a lot of different questions here. What's the most favorite part of the work that you do, the most meaningful, et cetera? I'm going to flip it differently because people with wealth try to create legacy, right? They want to leave generational wealth to others, et cetera. So I want to think about career legacy for you. All right. Yeah. You've got this platform that you've earned. How would you tell the story of your tracks to success? What kind of legacy would you want to leave?
The legacy that I would want to leave is that I would love for our colleagues to feel like I've added something to them individually. I've allowed them to see a blind spot that maybe they missed. I allowed them to hone a skill that they didn't know that they could hone, that there's something about how they're approaching the work that was improved, even if it was just a little bit, because of my being part of the firm and being part of their career journey. That would make me so happy and so proud.
Yeah. Awesome. Chief Client Officer, partner. You've been a partner on this podcast, and you talked about community. That was one of the things that you just talked about a few moments ago. I'm going to say thank you for being a part of the Tracks to Success community. Loved having you on. Appreciate it very much, and continued success to you.
Oh, this is such a privilege. Thank you again, Kraig.
Friends, success isn't just about the look of your resume. It's about the way you look, and dressing for success in the workplace is important. The way you look out of the workplace is part of your brand as well. Ahead, our official headwear partner, is all about helping you show off your best self. A hat says a lot about you, and Ahead doesn't just follow trends, they set them. Available at pro shops, resorts, and big sporting events around the country, and also online. By listening to this podcast, you get a chance to save big. Visit aheadusashop.com, use the code TTS30, and receive 30% off your order. That's aheadusashop.com, using the code TTS30. 30% off just for you. Ahead, the finest brand in headwear and the official headwear of Tracks to Success. Okay, it's time for Getting Ahead. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Sandi. Now, I want to challenge the way you think about success and what you're really working toward. If you listen closely, Sandi Bragar doesn't just manage wealth, she helps people make sense of it. And more importantly, she helps them define what it's for. Here's the truth. So much of us spend so much time chasing the next thing, right? The next number, the next title, the next client, the next paycheck, the next big deal. We rarely stop to ask, does all of this align with the life that I actually want to live? Now, Sandi's work reminds us that our goals should serve our values, not the other way around. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just measure your life in metrics. Start measuring in meaning. Big word, meaning. What do you stand for? Who are you helping? And what legacy are you actually trying to build for yourself? Because if your work doesn't align with your values, it's not really success, is it? It's just motion. So get clear and let's get intentional. That's how you get ahead. And if you do that, That's how your tracks to success start to really take shape. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. Until next time, I'm Kraig Kann. We'll do it again soon.
Don't forget to subscribe to the show for more great interviews and Kraig's thoughts on reaching your highest personal and professional summit. Find it wherever you get your podcasts and on the Kraig Kann YouTube channel and kraigcanspeak.com.